This program is part of the Cosmic Potato Podcast Network. For more shows like this, visit our website at cosmicpotatonetwork.com.
Watching television, watching television. Watching television, watching television. I need all the image, I need all the sound, I know the info right into my mind.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Trial by Pilot. This is the show where we judge an entire series of television and the work of hundreds on one episode. I'm Bill Lynch.
And I'm Elizabeth Lynch.
But not tonight. Not tonight. We're doing another top 10.
I'm so confused by that. I'm like, who are we tonight? Like
We'll be discussing our top 10 favorite sitcoms of all time ever.
We all know how I struggle with these lists, guys.
Yes.
But I assure you, I think there's maybe only one show on here that could maybe also fall in the drama category.
Oh my gosh. So we did our top 10 dramas a while ago. Go check that out. We had new listener Dominique comment that she thought our lists were great, except we were both missing 6 Feet Under.
I never saw 6 Feet Under.
Neither have I. I've heard only good things. I think it was on
Yeah.
HBO, right?
I think so. That or Showtime? I can't remember.
So maybe we'll get around to it one day. Who knows? And then Susan sent in a full top 10 list.
Oh, I was going to mention that. She sent it to you too.
Oh, okay. I was going to quiz you to see if you knew what her top 3 were.
Oh, I don't remember.
But if she
now.
sent it to you.
You know, she sent me the little post-it that she had listed from 10 down to 1.
Her number 3 was Parenthood, which was also on your list, right?
Yep.
Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
On both of our lists. And Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah. Oh, that was the one I commented. I said to her, I was like, oh, interesting. You don't consider that a comedy. And she said she thinks it, is very funny, but she felt it was more dramatic.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
and that is true. Like, that's probably her favorite show ever.
Yeah. I never saw it.
It's good. It's very good.
So after I came up with these lists when we were doing the dramas, I realized that I didn't have Monk or Psych on either list. And I didn't put them into this. I don't know if Psych would have made it anyway. I think Monk might have, but it's not a sitcom.
Well, we just said comedies. We didn't say sitcoms.
Oh, I think I said sitcoms.
No, we said comedies.
Oh boy. So
They're on mine.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever. So a couple other ones that just missed my cut were Schitt's Creek, Veep, Arrested Development.
I knew I was gonna forget one.
Which one did you forget? Veep?
Veep.
Yeah.
And I thought about it last time. Damn.
Flight of the Conchords and BoJack Horseman.
Okay.
All just missed my top 10. But actually, BoJack Horseman is almost in the same vein as Monk or Psych. It's like a punny animated show, but it's more serious than not and depressing.
Yeah.
It's not really a sitcom.
Ooh, Veep might have to bump one of mine out.
Oh my gosh, on the fly, she's changing it.
Yeah, I think it has to.
All right.
Again, I did rank these, but it's just so hard for me. They're all pretty close.
Yeah.
I would say that my number one I knew was going to be my number one, but the other ones, I like them just as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I think, I obviously love all these. They're in my top 10 of all time, but I think my order is pretty firm. I think I have them in the right slots.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with your number 10 or do you want me to start?
You start.
My number 10 is Party Down.
Oh, okay. I've never finished that one. I know you've liked that one for a long time.
Did you start it?
Yeah.
Oh, you
I did? Yeah.
Oh, why didn't you finish it?
I don't remember.
I think that would be a good one for us to watch.
Is it streaming on anything? What was that on?
I thought I saw something somewhere recently that it was, I don't know, maybe it's on Netflix, but I'll look into it. And I think it was only 2 seasons. Just great situational comedy with so many funny people and good
Yeah.
writers about this like catering staff and like the ridiculous shit that they go through.
In LA, right? Like they're in Hollywood.
Yeah.
They're all trying to be actors.
Yeah, they're all actors.
Yeah.
There's a couple people from Freaks and Geeks on it that we just mentioned, or at least one. No, at least two.
And is Ben Wyatt's in it, right?
Yes.
Or what? Whatever his name
His
is.
actual name.
I can't remember.
Adam something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so great casts, great writers, just all around funny show. Party Down is my number 10.
Okay. My number 10, and I'll go over my like honorable mentions after.
Well, why don't you just do honorable mentions now?
You want me to do my
No one's
honorable
going to care about
mentions
them. Adam Scott is the name.
Adam
of the show.
Scott.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. My honorable mentions that didn't make my list, but almost did, and 2 just got bumped out like right before. So that's how close these all are. So my honorable mentions are Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Golden Girls, 30 Rock, and Broad City. Oh, and Big Mouth. Those are my honorable mentions.
Those are your honorable mentions?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear what trash made it onto your list.
You know, fuck you. You get to make your list, and I get to make mine.
All right.
Okay, so my number 10 is Community.
Okay, nice.
I just, it could have been bumped, but I was like, I just think this show is so interesting, and I so enjoyed rewatching it, and everything that I thought was so different and cool about it was just, it's not like every other sitcom. It had to be on my list.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really smart and funny.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by how funny I thought it was on a rewatch.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
There's, we talked about it.
We've talked about it a lot.
So we reviewed the pilot, but during that episode, we talked about the whole series and all of our feelings on it. So you can go back and listen to that if you want. There are weaker episodes in the later seasons, but they're still funny. Yeah. There's still some fucking great episodes in those later seasons amongst some weaker ones. But man, the beginning and middle of that show was absolutely hilarious. So many great characters. Some of the best sitcom characters.
Yeah. And Gillian Jacobs was in a show on my favorite dramas.
A little
which
crossover.
Also maybe could have been considered a comedy, but I don't think as a comedy it's as funny as any of these.
Sure, yeah.
So.
Good pick. My number 9, Big Mouth. This was actually one of my later swap-ins. It's just so funny.
It's so good.
It's so funny.
Yeah, I had that on my list at one point in
Yeah.
the last 2 days of making this.
I mean, Nick Kroll has done very little in his career that I don't just think is absolutely gut-busting hilarious.
Yeah,
he's so funny.
Great. He's the best.
You throw in all these other talented voice actors and comedians and writers, and just the subject matter they cover is just so insane.
It's insane.
And they pull no punches.
No, and I don't know how they even get away with it.
I don't either, because they are 13, 14-year-old kids, and it's just constant sex talk.
But I love how much it's based off of clearly I mean, yeah, there's stereotypes, I guess, of each character, but that some of them are based off of the actual actors.
Right.
Obviously his character is based off of him.
Right.
And his best friend. But there's so much that those characters again, I don't actually know this to be a fact, but I would be surprised if those actors are not bringing their own experiences into the way they're playing.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's so relatable, but nobody says that shit out loud.
Yeah.
You're watching this and you're like, oh fuck, I thought that and I didn't know, but obviously I didn't say that at 13, Right. It's so good. All right, my number 9, Psych.
Okay, nice.
Psych's great. And it's number 9 on here, but that doesn't really mean anything on this list because I really think that all these shows are great.
Why are people listening to our top 10 lists if you
Listen,
don't even give the ranking any weight?
they don't have a choice because this is just what the episode is this week, okay? But like, I can't rank them. Like, any single one of these shows on my list, I would sit down and watch right now, and would make me like happy to watch right now. So it could easily be like in my top 5 if I'm ranking it that way.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not. It's just, it's a great show. It's very funny. I really enjoy it. Gus is one of my favorite characters.
Gus is fantastic.
I just like the campiness of it, and
yeah.
it's silly. It just pokes fun at all these other procedurals, but what was on at the time, maybe like The Medium or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I just love how he just, makes fun of all that BS. You know?
I think maybe that's one of the first shows that I remember really watching and enjoying that was like really campy and self-aware about it and poking fun at a genre while still existing within that genre, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad almost that I like forgot to put Psych and Monk on lists because I just wouldn't know where to put them. But I love them both so much. So
Yeah.
Psych had weak episodes, especially in the later seasons. One of like the third main character, Juliet, was not an interesting character.
No.
No chemistry that I cared about at all.
Yeah.
But other than those two complaints, it was so funny. So funny.
There's another Psych movie coming out. And actually, I haven't seen the Psych movies. We saw the musical. Did you watch the Psych musical?
I think so.
But that's one thing I haven't, I'm surprised that I haven't come back to watch, but there's another one, and it's about Gus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'll look for the name of it, but I'm kind of, that might be a fun thing to do on like a cold gloomy day, is like sit and watch the Psych movies. Oh my gosh, the whole like yin yang stuff, like those were really, really good episodes.
Yeah.
Every time. Like really well thought out, creepy.
Yeah, it did a lot of things.
Suspenseful.
Did a lot of things well.
Really did.
All right, what are we on? Number 8.
Yeah.
My number 8 is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So I'm just running through all the ones on your honorable mentions list. It's in its 8th and final season right now. It's not what it once was, but man, it was funny for a really long time. I mean, it still is funny. It was my favorite sitcom on TV for years. Like, it was the only sitcom that was like we were actively watching like as it aired for a while. Gina Linetti, Charles Boyle, and Captain Ray Holt are like 3 of my favorite sitcom characters of recent times.
Yeah,
they're all just so good in their own way. And the rest of the ensemble is great too. But man, those 3 are just so fucking funny all the time. So yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, my number 8.
Okay. I just realized that I made a mistake on here. So I've also had to bump another one out. So I'm just going to mention one more honorable mention. Because I had...
This is a hot mess, Elizabeth.
I know, it is. You know what? I like a lot of funny shows. Like, I really do. Oh, God, this pains me to say it, but Pen 15 is an honorable mention.
Wow.
And Pen 15 is going to be on my list.
Wow. Not in your top 10.
Can I do a top 15?
No.
All right, my number 8 is Veep.
Okay. Did you just add that in when I said it?
No.
Okay.
Yes, when you mentioned it before, I was like, fuck, I knew it. Because when I was making this list before, I was like, I know that there's going to be one that I'm missing. Like,
Yeah.
I know there's one. Because there was one that popped up that's like kind of like towards the top of my list that like I almost completely forgot about. And I don't know. This is a hard genre for me to like really narrow down. But Veep is a really fantastic show. I laughed. Like, there's not a single episode where I didn't like crack up. Like every time. Like some of those characters.
Gary. Poor Gary.
Oh my God.
Mike McClintock.
Mike McClintock.
Jonah Ryan, Richard.
Who's the one that always has the fucking thing of water? The big jug of water, and he always says like he like hates his life. He's like the counterpart to the
Ben.
Oh my god.
Ben and Kent.
Yeah, those two. What a great duo.
Yeah. Yeah, great show. Great pick. It just missed my top 10.
Yeah.
You know, another one, like a lot of shows, it lasted 7 seasons. By the end, I was like, okay, this can be over now.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah,
probably should have lasted
course.
5 or 6. And man, Selena Meyer was just such a bitch. Like, to unrealistic levels where you just like
oh yeah, like
hated her.
Is anyone really that?
I don't know. Maybe
nasty?
maybe
I mean,
politicians are.
They might be, and honestly, there was so much like when that was coming out where you were like, oh, that's probably how this kind of really works or whatever, and then it was so much like our real life like government and politics were like so close to like what was going on there. Like you couldn't make it up. Like everything seemed like it was a Veep thing, and like Veep seemed like it was like spoofing what was actually going on. Oh, it was so good. It was just like such a good like mirror, because you know that there were like people who knew what was going on in DC, and they were like writing or like advising on that show. Like
right.
You know what I mean? Like they understood the culture, and like, God, that's not something I would ever be cut out for. Who was her receptionist, like her assistant? In like the first couple seasons, and then she was like gone, like she left. What was her name?
Oh,
do you remember?
No.
I'll look it up. She was so funny. She had black woman. She had bangs. Anyway, my number 8.
My number 7 is Frasier. I think I watched bits of this
Solid choice.
when I was younger, but you really got me rewatching it, and man, it's funny. It's so good. It's so well written, and it's so tight, and like it's really only like the main cast is only 5 people.
Yeah.
Right? Like sure there's like side characters, but it's really just 5 of them. It's really 4, but then Roz is like the 5th. I think I took David Hyde Pierce, Niles in our sitcom character draft back in the day. I mean, he's just like comedic timing, physical comedy, like he just does it all.
Yeah.
There is a reboot of Frasier coming next year.
There is?
Uh-huh.
Did I know that? Maybe you told me that.
I think it's still up in the air on who's going to be on it. Like if all the actors are coming back. Obviously, John Mahoney won't. He passed away recently. But yeah, we'll be looking out for that. Curious.
Yeah. I am curious about that.
Yeah, I assume that is also on your list, so we can talk about it.
Is, yeah.
Talk about it more later. That's my number 7, Frasier.
All right, my number 7 is Monk. I don't think there's an episode of that I don't enjoy. I think that show is just really good. Like, I don't even think where it's like, oh, towards the end it got kind of bad or whatever, but like, it didn't. I feel like it was pretty solid all the way through. I like that you see actual, like, for a show that is, you know, it's a comedy. It's campy and silly, and there are funny characters in it, but like the character of Monk, while he's funny, is just like such a really like tortured person.
Yeah.
And it's at times that can be really hard to watch, but I do think like at the heart of it, like I like that you, in a comedy like this, you can see so much like growth in a character.
Yeah.
And in all the characters, really. It's so funny. And this stuff is so like kind of like outlandish a little bit, like what you know, like how you even figure this stuff out. But it's just such a well written show.
Yeah. Tony Shalhoub is so good on that show. Stottlemyre was great.
Randy,
both of his assistants.
Yeah, even like with the cast change like that, it wasn't even like, oh, they jumped the shark when Sharona left. No, it was still good. Like they were just two very, and I like how they didn't try to make her like Sharona
Another
2.0.
Sharona? Yeah, totally different.
It was a completely different. And there's actually towards the end, Sharona comes back, and Natalie and Sharona like meet.
Oh yeah.
And their styles of dealing with him are so different. That like, you know, Sharona was just so tough with him.
Yeah.
And I, you know, and like I just like the way they each had a kid. Like there were similarities. So like they each had a child that, you know, Monk kind of became part of their family a little bit, and I don't know.
Yeah, Monk was great. It would have been on my list somewhere. I don't know where, but
yeah, it's really hard to narrow these down.
yeah, my number 6 is Community, which we already talked about.
Yeah.
No need to belabor that anymore, but great, hilarious show.
My number 6 is Sports Night.
Ah,
This is the one where I was saying maybe the only one that could maybe be considered a drama too. This was really like one of the first comedies that I saw that wasn't like a multicam live studio audience.
Yeah.
You know, this is like Aaron Sorkin, but writing a comedy, but it's like, it's just all so quick. Like, you know, it's like Aaron Sorkin is writing it.
Right.
Now, I never really watched West Wing, and I do think that West Wing was funny too, what I saw of it, but like this just seemed like such a, I don't know, I just felt like this fit more into the genre of comedy than drama, and I really just like fell, like that's one of those shows you just have to binge it. Like I just fell in love with those characters and binged it. This is one you watched with me, right?
I feel like we watched this entire series in like 2 nights in your parents' basement back in the day.
Yeah, I think we did.
There was
during a blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your like whole family was down there and we just watched Sports Night for like 6 hours.
That probably, that's like the way to do it, because that probably drove you crazy. Like knowing you as
Oh, yeah.
well as I know you now, like you can't sit for 6 hours and watch TV. That is not, like, you got to get up and do something.
Yeah.
You got to play a board game. You
Yeah.
got to like do something competitive. And like my whole family is like, we are content to like snuggle, eat some snacks, and binge a show.
Yep.
But you and my mom probably want to like jump up and like do some laundry or something.
Grab some good and plenties.
But that's a good show. Did it make your list or no?
No, I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, it was only 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So
I remember thinking it was funny, but I haven't seen it in 20 years.
Yeah.
since then. So yeah, it didn't make my list. What are we up to? 5?
oh, that makes 2 actors from those shows were in my dramas from last week.
Oh.
So one of them,
The Good Wife.
The Good Wife,
Yeah.
and Parenthood.
Oh, okay. All right. How many of my top 5 do you think you can guess? You got my top 3 dramas in order.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get these in order, but I think I can get 4 of them.
All right. I'm pretty sure you can at least get 4, so
Yeah.
no need to spoil it. I thought if you wanted to take a shot to get all 5 in order.
Yeah,
My number 5 is The Good Place.
I was gonna guess that.
So another fairly recent one. I think this was in 2016 it started, I think. So many good characters. Like this was such a great ensemble.
Yeah.
Ted Danson was fantastic. I had not watched Cheers or really seen him in anything. He was so funny. Darcy Carden. This is where
Breakout star.
your love obsession with Darcy Carden started. Kristen Bell, like I had just like heard stuff and like thought she was annoying for some reason, but she was so funny in the show.
Yeah.
Manny Jacinto as Jason, man, just such a great character.
Yeah.
And what a novel premise for a sitcom.
Yeah.
All these people are dead.
That's
and
why I love this. This is like, has this ever been done before?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's so cool. I love when there's like a new concept like that we haven't seen.
Yes. So that was my number 5, The Good Place.
All right. Well, my number 5 is Parks and Rec.
Nice.
Yeah. I love Parks and Rec. I'm guessing that that was one of the ones I was going to guess is on your list.
It's my number 4.
It's your number 4. So, well, I guess then we can that's the next one you're going to do. So I guess we can kind of talk about it a little bit more. We did just recently rewatch. Did we rewatch all the way through? Or did
No.
we stop? We started to and stopped?
We stopped in like the 2nd season, I think.
Oh. Maybe
Yeah.
we go back to this one.
We have quite a bit more to go.
Yeah. So,
Like most of the other ones we've talked about, probably should have ended the season earlier than it did.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it was unfunny at the end, but like it was just like starting to get rehashed a little bit. But I mean, these are sitcoms we're talking about for the most part. I know you said comedies. Like, so much of it is just like really funny jokes and like clever writing. The characters in this were so good. You really cared about them. Even like heartless libertarian Ron Swanson.
Yeah.
Say what you will about Chris Pratt now, but like Andy Dwyer was so fucking funny.
I know.
That was his like big breakout role. Now he's like a super action star.
Yeah.
April Ludgate.
I know.
Such a great character. That role now, I mean, I'm sure it's been done to like some extent before, but she's like her own archetype now for like the sarcastic assistant that like doesn't actually do anything. It's been copied so much because she was so funny in that role.
I bet breakdowns now say like April Ludgate.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Totally. Unfortunately, Rashida Jones was in this for a while. Just kidding. Like even Adam,
I still don't get it. Like I still, and I feel bad. I really try to check myself anytime I'm like, ugh, I can't stand that actress. I really do try to check myself and like see like where is my internalized misogyny coming out. Like
what?
I do think that sometimes like the way that like we. At least I'm going to speak for myself, but the way that like women talk about other women, like, ugh, I hate her, whatever. I do think there's a lot of like pitting against people. And so I really try to like, as soon as I hear myself say that, I try to like stop and be like, okay, why did I just say that? Why? But with that being said, I still did not find her an interesting character.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just making a point.
If her character was a man, I think I would feel the exact same way.
Yes,
it wasn't
I'm
an
just
interesting
saying
character.
that, like, this is how I deal with things when I have those feelings.
Okay.
That's all. And I checked that feeling, and I still came up saying that was not an interesting character.
Even Ben Wyatt as like the straight man was so good. Yeah,
like you thought like it was going to be like boring, but then it wasn't.
No.
And especially the two of them, like him and Rob Lowe's character.
Oh yes. Chris,
yeah. Those two together is just like such a funny, like there's like the cynic and the ultimate optimist.
Yeah. And I know, some people are tired of Aziz Ansari's kind of persona, but like Tom Haverford was funny in this fucking show.
Yeah. It's always a shame. It's always hard, like, though, I shouldn't say a shame, but it is hard. When you get these moments of these characters, like, I felt like so much of, like, the way these characters and, like, these little duos or little cliques on the show formed were so natural. Like, I feel like they came about, like, very organically.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was so much, like, improv and, like, actual camaraderie that created these, like, really cool, like, friendships and relationships on the show.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to, like, recreate that magic that I do think, like, that natural, what's his name? Tom Haverford. And what was Retta's character? Donna. Like, they had such, like them coming together and being, like, a team.
Treat yourself.
So great and funny. But then then you kind of, like, play it out. It gets, like, a little played out after a while.
Yeah.
And, like, that's, like, sometimes you're like, oh, but it was, like, so magic. It was so perfect. Like, the first time you realize, like, these two as a team is amazing.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, that's what happens.
That always happens.
You're doing 7 seasons of a sitcom with these
Yeah.
like very distinct, like I don't know, like hyper dramatized. I don't know if that's the right word, but like hyper specific comedy characters. Like after at some point, you're like, okay, I've seen
Yeah.
this quite a bit.
Right,
You know. All right, so that was my number 4, Parks and Rec. What was your number 4? That was your number 5. My number 4.
My number 4, The Middle.
Oh, I totally forgot about The Middle.
This was one of the ones where I was like, I know I'm sleeping on a show. What is it? And it really is one of my favorites.
It's a good one.
It's such a fun. I you know how I feel about Sue Heck, but I kind of feel even the same way about Frankie Heck. She just like really, really, really wants to be better. Like she's the woman in the grocery store. She's like, I'm gonna buy that HGTV magazine and I'm gonna do this in the corner in my house. But like meanwhile, like her wallpaper in her dining room has been ripped for like, like the unfinished projects. Like you walk into our house and there's these like unfinished projects and it's like, you know what? Frankie Heck's got this going on too. Like so many times we've come back from vacation and I think of the time when the Hecks came back from vacation and their neighbors were like, you were robbed. Because like they like brought their mail from her. She's like, you were robbed, and she was like, oh no. And like, did they take anything? Like, no, I think nothing valuable. And it was just because their house is a fucking pigsty. And like sometimes, especially when we lived in the condo and our whole life was like right there when you walked in.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that gave me so much stress. Because it was so hard to keep clean and it was also so hard not to see it. And I just felt like Frankie, I'm like, you know what? This is what Frankie Heck's got going on.
We still use the joke of floating holidays and birthdays.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to
We'll
go out
just
for your
float
birthday?
it.
It's on a Thursday. We'll just float it. We'll go out another time.
Float it. Oh my God. I always think of like the snack bag. She's like always forgetting the snack bag.
Yeah, that's a good pick. The Middle.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Futurama.
This did not make my list, but that's the one that I couldn't think of for you.
I mean, listen, if you've watched Futurama, you know how fucking good it is. I mean, Billy West, probably the greatest voiceover actor ever. Like, so perfect. Just so clever at times, so slapstick at times. It knew like right when to hit certain notes. And then there were episodes that made you really care about all these silly, silly characters. 2 episodes of it made me weep like a little girl. And this was during a time where like I hadn't cried in like 15 years.
A little girl. Only girls can
Sorry,
cry.
like a little kid, because our son cries almost nonstop. Yeah. And so one of the episodes was Luck of the Fryrish, where Fry thinks that his brother stole his identity after he disappeared and moved to the future. But at the end, he finds out that he just named his son after him. I'm like getting choked up just talking about it.
Your eyes are a little glassy.
And then the other one was Jurassic Park. And like, I don't even like dogs, but man, the ending of that episode just kills.
Remember, you did lose your pet.
Yeah. Maybe that's why. Maybe I'm scarred and I'm just repressing it.
That's what I think. I
yeah.
tell you that all the time.
I know you're.
And you're like, stop.
You're fully wrong.
Therapizing me.
I mean, all these characters like Zoidberg, Bender, Fry, like they're all just such classic characters. I could gush about Futurama for a long time, but we'll move on to your number 3.
We still do have a can of Slurm downstairs
We
in
do.
the basement from when you were
I did
Fry.
dress up as Philip J. Fry one year for Halloween.
What are we on? 3?
3.
My number 3 is Frasier.
Nice.
And I think this is probably the only. Yeah, so this is the only multicam in in front of a live studio audience.
Okay.
Or I get, we could say laugh track. I think a lot of times when we say laugh track, like they really are in front of a live studio audience. But that is, I think, out of all of those, I mean, there's so, I mean, we grew up on those. So there are so many of those that
Right.
could have been on this list for me. But I think to just like narrow that down, as you were saying before, it is just so tight. It is the tightest
Yeah. Yeah.
of any show like that. It's just, it's like precision. Those two, especially with those two main actors, they're very good.
Yeah.
They're just very, very good.
Yeah.
Super professional. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. They just.
I think like sometimes your stage, to be on a show like that, I think stage performers really do like know a little bit more about how to you know, sometimes
Yeah,
it
maybe.
comes across as like, you don't want to come across as like, I'm on a stage and you're looking at here, but like they just kind of like have this command of the space that they're in.
Yeah.
And how to use the space. And
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking like there were a couple different spots like the studio and other apartments, but like such a huge chunk of that show was just in Frasier's living room with 3 or 4 characters talking. That was it.
And there was so much that would go on without, like, not behind the scenes, but there was often, like, some kind of, like, diversion being created or, like, something else going on, like...
In the kitchen.
Yeah, something going on in the kitchen. Someone, like, bringing out wine and hearing something and then, like, going back into the kitchen and, like, oh, no, I better not. Like, I'm going to hide in the bathroom. Like, it was very, like, it had a lot of, like, a Noises Off kind of vibe to it. Did you ever see Noises Off?
No.
Oh, it's a play. But there was a movie version of it. But it was like on a stage, if I'm remembering it correctly. But very silly like that.
Yeah.
Very, like, all of these, like, foibles and, like, slapsticks that, like, whoops, like, mistaken identity and, like, ridiculous thing. You know, I like that. It's very, like, old school, like, theater. I love that on a show.
Great show. My number 2 is 30 Rock. Comes as a surprise to no one who's listened to this podcast for a while. We also did a full rewatch of 30 Rock during the pandemic. Another one, like, listen, I already knew this was like one of my favorites. So funny on rewatch. Even the pilot episode is hilarious. It's so good.
Yeah.
Fucking every character, like Tracy Jordan, Jenna Maroney, Kenneth. There's just so many iconic moments.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny.
And I like that. That almost made my list. It was on it for a little while before I, like, had to switch it out. But what I like about that one, too, is that it was so different from anything else that you'd seen before.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of like, you know, that's what I like about Community so much. That's what I liked about Sports Night so much. Like, one of those things that just kind of like, oh, I've never seen this. And it's so, like, it just kind of grabs you.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we really are craving something different. You
Yeah,
know?
sure.
Like, especially after, like, years and years and years. I mean, how many years of television? I don't have the answer to this. But how many years of television is it, like, you know, this, like, multicam laugh track show that's like in a house in somebody's living room and then the kitchen and
Right.
like it's like that's just what the formula was.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of, it's, you know, you kind of, once you see something so different and they just took so many risks and they just kept going with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They weren't afraid, and that's kind of cool because that's what people want.
Yeah,
They
I
want
mean,
something new.
I think we talked about that during even the pilot episode. They just like went for it. Like they
Yeah.
went bonkers.
Yeah.
And they just did throughout the entire series. And again, we already talked about this, but they were like groundbreaking in a lot of ways. Like the way they did cutaways is like a thing now. Like so many sitcoms do that. And
Yeah.
30 Rock pioneered that like style of storytelling. Yeah. That's my number 2, 30 Rock.
My number 2 is Schitt's Creek.
Wow, high.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Again, it makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. I like it. There's nothing. I was almost said there's nothing stressful about it, but that's not actually true because that family is just so high stress in the middle of this like town that is just like nobody's stressed about fucking anything. And I love seeing them like in that backdrop of the show and like just trying to make it work around these like ridiculous characters and
Yeah.
you know, Twyla. Twyla's so good.
She's really funny.
Oh my god.
Really funny.
I just, Moira and her wigs, and it's just like, and I know some people, it's funny, I'm always surprised when one of my friends is like, oh, I can't stand Moira, I can't stand the way she talks, and I'm like, that, I love the way she talks. I think that that's a show that really kind of allowed the actors, like, to shine, like, to do what they do best.
Yeah. Well, most of them were related, so.
3 of them were
related or had been working together for like
for
decades.
Time, yeah. But like even I think the actress who played Stevie, I think she was fairly new, and I think that
Yeah.
the actress who played Alexis was not like well known. I'm pretty sure. Again, I'm sure there are people out there who know this for a fact. I don't do a lot of like I don't watch interviews or anything like that. Like I haven't read up a ton, but I think that was like their first like big
I think
show,
so, yeah.
And I love that. I love when like a show like has a new actor on that just is like that belongs there, that should be there.
Yeah.
And I think that both of those actors, like Alexis's growth throughout that whole show, Stevie's growth, Stevie's moment of getting to sing Cabaret, it was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And they're just fucking funny.
Yeah.
Even if Patrick is very boring.
Oh, he's so boring. So that's what I was going to say. This was on my honorable mention list.
Yeah.
I mean, fantastic show. I'm sure it would be in like my top 15 or 20. Mm-hmm. But again, it just wore on a little bit too long, and like so much of the relationship stuff I just found so bland. Like everything with Patrick, who's just like the blandest character.
Yeah.
You can play the straight man without being boring.
Yeah.
And then like Alexis's relationship too. Like it just wasn't, that stuff wasn't funny to me. And this was like my comedy list, so I couldn't quite put it up that high.
Okay, that's fair.
But great show.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready for our number ones?
I think so.
Do you think they're the same? I don't know what else yours is.
No.
No?
I don't. Can I guess yours?
I mean, it's not much of a guess, is it?
No. Yours is Seinfeld.
Yes, mine is Seinfeld. So Seinfeld wasn't even in your top 10 or on your honorable mentions.
No, it should have been in my honorable mentions. Because I really did. I was thinking about it. It's just like...
Because that's embarrassing for you.
Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is like...
I don't love it as much as you do. I love that show, but it's not my top 10.
I mean, I obviously love it. I think I've probably watched more episodes of Seinfeld more times than any other show ever.
Yeah.
Like drama, sitcom, whatever.
I mean, this has not changed about you since high school. Like, this
No, I
has
fucking
been your
love Seinfeld.
favorite show forever.
Yeah, and I know it's not like a unique opinion. A lot of people love Seinfeld,
Yeah.
of course, but like, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
It's so good. Talk about a fucking tight show. It's the 4 main cast. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld, is obviously like the comedian and the writer behind it.
Yeah.
The other 3 are like, you could argue for them being like the 3 best sitcom characters ever.
Yeah.
And they're all on the same.
Yeah.
They're all on the same fucking show.
I know.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, that's just like mind blowing to me when you really like sit and look at Elaine and George and Kramer and how perfect all 3 of them are.
Do you have a favorite? Can you pick a favorite?
I could easily argue for any of the 3, like depending on the episode.
Mine's Elaine. And I get what you're saying. They really are. Like, they could be the best in the entire industry, the entire genre. But I think Elaine is... I mean, and just watch Veep. Like, she's incredible. And those are
totally.
two very different characters.
Yeah.
But she is very...
Oh, Julia
very
Louis-Dreyfus
strong.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think Elaine, you could easily argue that she was the best if you had to pick one.
Yeah.
Just the way that she handled situations and like being around those three dolts all the time.
Oh my God.
But then you have...
You are a little man.
But then you have
Why
like...
wasn't this on my list?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because I didn't think that you would have it at one, but I was like waiting for you to say it. I'm like, is she not going to have fucking Seinfeld on her list?
Yeah.
But then like George's like anger issues and everything with work. And then, I mean, fucking Kramer's Kramer, like...
But...
Just Michael Richards' physical comedy is...
I'm just like sliding into the room, like...
Yeah, I mean...
into the apartment, just like... Ugh.
Just... every episode is fucking iconic.
Yeah.
There are so many good scenes, so many good one-liners. Yeah, so it was...
And it's one of those shows where, like, when you, like, the guest spots are famous.
right.
Like, oh, you were in that episode. Like, we were talking about, and, like, I think maybe in the last episode we were recording about, like, one of the actress on Happy Endings. Like, oh, she's been in this show and that. Like, one episode here, one episode there.
Right.
On Seinfeld, it's not like that. It's like, oh, you were in that episode.
Right,
like, about you.
Right.
You know? And they just had a way of, like, making those guest spots, like, shine.
Yeah.
And still being the stars of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really, really great show.
So, yeah. Brilliant show. And... fuck, what else was I going to say? I was going to say something else, and then you cut me off, and I forgot.
Oh, sorry.
What's your number one?
I'm sorry. My number one is The Good Place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I
All right.
really thought that show was so special.
Yeah. Where did I have
like-
that? I had it as like my number 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, my number 5.
I just really liked how it made me think. And Casey made fun of me one time for saying that. But I just... but I did. Like, I appreciated that was something that was... That it was having people have those conversations about morality and, like, what's good and what's bad and life and death and, like, how you should be here with the people you're with now, like, and what effect the decisions you're making has on everything else.
Yeah.
And you can try so hard to be good and you will still
Fuck
be
up.
bad.
Yeah.
It's hard, you know, and I just really appreciated that conversation
Yeah.
being had in the form of a sitcom. Like, yeah, please make me think. I really liked that.
Yeah. I agree. It was fantastic. Go Jags.
Such a fucking funny character.
I mean, that really says a lot, though, like, how serious of a conversation they were having in general on that show with, like, such ridiculous humor, you know?
Yeah.
So funny. Oh, man, the episodes where they were rebooting Janet, like, a million times.
God.
Yeah, good pick. All right, everybody. That's our list of the top 10 all-time comedies. Again...
Did I mention that in my honorable mentions was Broad City?
Yes,
Did I
you
say that?
did.
Oh, okay.
But thanks for cutting me off again.
You're welcome.
Let us know what your top 10 is. Tell us where we were wrong or if you agree with us. And join us next week for something else. That's how.
But we don't know yet.
That's how I'm going to end these top 10s for something else, because I don't know when this is coming out. If you have suggestions on shows for us to watch, you can email us at trialbypilot@gmail.com. You can go onto Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Trial by Pilot. And please go onto Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you're listening to this. Subscribe to the show, leave a review, and tell a friend.
What other top 10s could we do?
I don't know. We're not going to talk about that right now. This show's almost an hour long.
What? All right. Thanks, Beats.
Thanks, Beats. Bye.
Bye.
Watching television, watching television. Watching